Hi everybody, what's up? How are you doing today? In today's video, we'll be talking about my miracle baby, and I'll explain to you why I call her my miracle baby. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for everything that's scary fabulous. So this video will bring awareness to her condition. This is so dear and personal to my heart, speaking about my daughter and all that she has been through and all that we have been through as her parents. My husband and I have been through the ups and downs with her, or younger years I should say. So my daughter was born with a heart defect, and I didn't find out that she had a heart defect until I was 8 months pregnant. Let me explain. So in 2016 I got pregnant with my daughter. So when I got pregnant in the August until the October, and the October I left and went back to Jamaica because I wasn't legal then, so I had a visa to travel back and forth. So when I came back to Jamaica, I started my antenatal clinic in Jamaica, taking my vitamins and everything. I did my ultrasound in Jamaica, and when I did my ultrasound with Michael Abrahams, he told me that nothing was wrong with the baby, everything was fine. So I'm here, enjoying my pregnancy and, enjoy watching my baby grow. So back when 2017, January, when we were banning countries from coming into the US. So my husband called me and said to me, I think you should come up and have the baby. So we start make preparations and planning for me to come up to have the baby. So I came up, I think it was February 7th, 2017, I came up. So I came up on a Sunday morning flight. So when I came up, my husband and my mother-in-law arranged for me to go to the doctor as I come, because they say, well, go get checked and find out how the baby's doing as you come up. So I said, okay, and they took me to the doctor and we listened to the baby heartbeat. Everything was fine. They checked her. Everything was fine. I had no worries about nothing at all when they checked us, when they checked the baby. So that day now, so I'm starting making preparations, to do my antenatal at Nassau Hospital now, because, I'm in New York now. So I started making preparations to do it there. So after now, I'm going there, and they're checking the baby, they're taking blood, they're doing everything. So my doctor came to me and said to me, oh, he wanted a specialist to check our baby. So my husband and I said, okay. He said, oh, nothing is wrong with the baby. He said it's so playful and so jovial. I didn't think that anything was wrong, because he told me, oh, not to worry, this is just procedures. These are things that we do. So I wasn't worried at all about anything being wrong with her, because he assured me then that she was okay. So I'm there, and he said we planned the date and we planned everything for me to see the specialist. So when the day come and I went to the appointment to see the specialist, me and my husband went, I wasn't worried. I was not worried at all. We went in now, so when the specialist started to check everything, very cooperative, very excited, and say, oh, my baby's good, so I have nothing to worry about. So the specialist finished the examination. When he finished the examination, that's when everything in my life changed. He said the baby had hypoplastic left side heart syndrome. is that? I've never heard of that in my entire life. I've never heard of that. I'm like, what is that? So hyperplastic left side heart syndrome is when the left side of the baby's heart was not developed. So let me explain. We have two atrium, two ventricles in our heart. One carry oxygenated blood and one carry deoxygenated blood. One goes to the head and one goes to the rest of our body. So on her left side is just pure muscle. It was not developed. So in other words, she have a half a heart. And I'm like, where the hell this come from? And I started to cry. I'm like, no, this cannot be true. Check her again. This cannot be true. I had two other kids. Nothing is wrong with them. So what is this with her? And I'm like, no. Check my baby again. This cannot be true. So he said, yes, it's true. And yes, she has it. The first thing came to my mind was, why her? Why us? Why me? Because I'm thinking in my head for the first couple months of her life, I never smoked. I never drank. I did everything that a normal pregnant person would do. So I was confused as to why she had this. And I cried the day coming home back from the appointment. I cried. My husband was very supportive and he comforted me. And I cried on his shoulders. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And on that day, they said to me, I can no longer come to that hospital to do my antenatals. I have to go to a hospital that specializes in her care. So I end up transferring to Cat Woman Hospital to finish up my antenatal. Right? I went there to finish it out. So I'm like, okay, this is it now. This is it. Oh God, what am I gonna do? So when we went there, another specialist checked us out and he said, yes, it is true. She does have hypoplastic left side heart syndrome, but it can be treated with surgeries and she would have a healthy life, and she would have, I don't even know, because at that time they were saying that it can be treated and she can have a normal life. But in other words, I'm saying, how is she gonna have a normal life? Her heart isn't normal. So I started doing my antenatal at that hospital. So I had to do blood. I had to do all kind of things. And it was a long, hard process. But every step of the way, my husband was there to support me and I was there to support him. Plus we have a lot of family members that supported us too. My mom was very supportive. His mom at that time was very supportive and she was there to help us along the way. So we're there and I'm going to my antenatal clinic there and they tell us about the birth plan. They're telling us about the birth plan and they're saying to us what are they gonna do and how they're gonna do it. So like 2 days before I gave birth, I end up in the hospital because I was dehydrated and I was so sick. So 2 days before I end up in the hospital, but then everything was good and my husband picked my daughter's birth date. He picked April 28th because they wanted to do April 18th. or 19th, one of them. I think it was the 18th they wanted to do it, but he said no. He do the 20th because on the 20th she was gonna be, I think she was gonna be 39 weeks on that day, and he said he wanted her to do her full term inside. Yes, she was a full term baby. So on the day of her birth, I went in the hospital and we both went in. So it was me, my husband, my mother-in-law was there, and my mom's friend, Miss Jolene. 4 of us was there on the day of her birth. So I took the epidermal, is that what it's called? Yes, I took it. And when they're giving you that injection here, the husband or the boyfriend is not in the room. They just give it to you, and then after they do that, then they call in the husband or the boyfriend. So on the day of her birth now, we were there and everything went, because she cannot, I had to do a C-section during her birth because they said that they didn't want her to go into distress and anything happened to her heart. So she was, her birth was a C-section. So while we were there now, and you know, the birth and everything, when she came out crying. My husband was there, and they immediately as she came out, they started checking her, oxygen on, everything, because they had to ensure that she was okay, and if she needed oxygen to breathe at that time. So they had to ensure that everything was okay with her. So after her birth now, we're there in the hospital and everything was great when she came out, and we saw her, this, I mean, beautiful little girl. Beautiful. So we're there in the hospital, I'm there, and she was in the NICU. She was in the NICU because, you know, she had the heartbeat, so she couldn't stay with me in the room. She had to stay in the NICU. Every day, every single day, I called the NICU and asked how she's doing, because I did a C-section, so it was very difficult for me to move up and down, and they had to, was in a wheelchair, and that's how I got to go down to see her, and I would stay with her for some time, then I go back in my room. My husband was there, you know, he was always there with her, always in the NICU with her. My mother-in-law came to see her. My dad came to see her. A good, you know, a lot of my family came to see her. So when a child is born with hypoplastic left side heart syndrome, they have to do 3 surgeries. One, like the first 5 days of life, you have to do one. When you're 6 months old, you have to do one. And the other one, when you're 2 to 3 years, you do the other one. So when my daughter was born, they said, okay, they're going to do the surgery on her. So they're prepping everything and putting everything in place. But before her birth, everything was in place. Everything was in place already. So on the surgery morning, when me, my husband, and my mother-in-law, and I think my father-in-law, 4 of us was there, and I cried. I cried so much, because I'm like, look at her, she's perfect. She's perfect. Nothing is wrong with her. But on the outside, she was perfect, but on the inside, wasn't perfect on the inside. Heart surgery, they had to rearrange it, and plus some of her tubes were also very small to transport blood throughout her body, so they had to you know, balloon some of those tubes too for blood to pass throughout her body. So on the day of the surgery, she went in and they took her in. So when they took her in, we had to stay in. They had a little area called the surgical area where you sit when your child is in surgery. So we went downstairs, we got something to eat, and we were like walking, you know, up and down, worried, and we were sitting in the surgical area waiting. I think our surgery took like 5 hours. I don't quite sure. I'm not quite sure, but it took a long time, her surgery. So while we were there, my husband heard like they had an emergency code to theater or something or another. So my husband said, "That's her theater." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yes." I threw away my handbag and I started to cry. So we were in the basement having breakfast then. So all four of us jumped on the elevator and went straight to the waiting area. When we went straight to the waiting area, we asked the lady that, there have persons there that they tell you how is the surgery doing, what are they doing, and how is everything. So we went and asked me like, "Oh, we heard it over the intercom that they have a code on our baby." And she was like, "Oh, let me check the theater to find out if it's her." And then she told us, I think she told us that it wasn't her, but it was her. I guess she saw the look on our faces and she saw that we were devastated that that was our baby and that they had a code on her. I think that's what happened, and that's why she didn't want to tell us that it was our baby. I think that's why. That's what I think. But we were there, and after her surgery, they took her to the intensive care unit, and she was in there, and they cleaned her up, and then we had to wait a while before we could see her. So this is it now. After she did her surgery, they left her chest open. Yes, her chest was open. Her chest was open, and when we went in the room, we were looking right inside her. They just have a little transparent tape over her chest. I cried again. I cried, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is my baby with her chest wide open." But there was a little there was a little tape there to stop anything from going in there, but her chest was open under that, and that was terrible. That was horrible, seeing your child like that. Oh God. And her chest was open for, I think it was 2 or 3 days. They left it open. Yes, they did. They left it open for 2 or 3 days, and we kept on asking, when are you gonna close her chest? When are you gonna close her chest? So eventually they decided to close her chest. So on the day when they were going to close her chest, I did not go. I did not. I couldn't go because that's terrifying to me. And at the hospital, the machine used to beep a lot with her. It used to beep a lot. And it gave me paranoia. And every time it started beep, I would just jump up and get worried. I would get worried. I'm like, Jesus God. You just want to take your baby and run and tell them, leave her alone. And what hurt me the most when she was born is that I didn't get to hold her when she was born. I didn't get to hold her for a good couple of days. My husband held her before me, and we didn't get to hold her until long after because of all the stuff that she had to deal with. So I guess they didn't want us to hold her. But can you imagine having a newborn and not being able to hold her, not being able to sing to her, not being able to talk to her, hold her little small hands, or feel her skin next to yours? You know how that feels? That's an awful feeling. An awful feeling. Because everybody is over the moon when they're going to have a newborn. And you're preparing for this newborn. So, because of all the stuff that we were going through with her, we didn't have a baby shower, and a lot of stuff we didn't do because we were worried and we're saying, oh my God, is she gonna make it? But in the back of your head, you're thinking all of that because here you have this baby with a heart defect, and you're like, every day I was like, God, please, please don't take my baby. Please don't take my baby. Please. I mean, every day you say, is my baby gonna make it? Is my baby gonna make it? Because it's terrifying. It's so terrifying going through that. It's terrifying. And I couldn't have done it without my husband. I could not have done it without him. He was my rock. He was the person that I'd lean on the most for support. Yes, he was the person I lean on the most for support. He was the person that got me through everything. He was the person that helped me cope, because I couldn't understand why this was happening to her. I couldn't understand it. And I blamed myself I blamed myself when we first found out, because I'm saying that I did something in my pregnancy, why that happened. And I'm going back in my brain, and I can't find anything as to what happened. And as a mother, if something happened to your child, you're going to blame yourself. You're going to blame yourself. And I went back in my head and I said, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs, I didn't do anything at all. And I'm like, why is this? What happened? And I couldn't understand. You know, and the doctors was like, oh, these things happen. It's just an accident when she was forming. It's like something happened with one of the cells, and something wasn't formed properly. And I'm like, what? Why? And they couldn't give me an answer as to why it was happening to her. They couldn't. Up until this day, I haven't gotten an answer as to why that happened to her. I haven't. And if you have a child that has a heart defect in her, it's a lot. They'll be on medication for the rest of their lives. When she came out the hospital, after she did her surgery, she stayed a month in the hospital. She was on oxygen because she couldn't breathe on her own. So after that, they transferred her to St. Mary Rehabilitation Hospital, St. Mary Children's Hospital, I think, but it's like rehabilitation for babies. And that hospital, I hated that hospital. I don't know, it was just so creepy to me. I hated it. Plus, she also had feeding tube because she couldn't eat by mouth. She had feeding tube as well. You had to put, it's either it be in your duodenum or in your stomach. And I had to learn how to put in the feeding tube. I had to learn how to do that. And as a baby, you know how babies are, she pull it out all the time. All the time she pull it out. So it's like constantly we have to put it in back. And then she has to do an x-ray every time they put it in back to see if it's placed the right place. It has to be placed a certain place for it to stay in your duodenum. So after they move it from her duodenum to, I think they put it to her stomach. So when it's in the stomach, you don't need to do the x-ray. So for the first year of her life, She couldn't eat. We had to feed her through the feeding tube, and the feeding tube had to be in her nose. And we had to, every time we go anywhere, we had to, then she had to get medication. We had to put it through the feeding tube. Everything. Oh, God. That was a hard time for me and my husband. Hard time. We had to learn how to do the feeding tube. We had to learn how to do this. Then we had to have oxygen at the house. And then she had to get nurse. So we had to deal with nurse. And we had to deal with therapists. We had to deal with... Because she stayed in St. Mary for... Let me see. May. She went there in May, June, July. So she stayed there until July 20th. She left. St. Mary, and we came home. And they gave us a whole bunch of stuff to come out. I had to do CPR training. I had to do how to place the car seat in the car. I had to do so much training before they let her out. And when she came home the first night, she cried. She cried. But I was happy she was home. Me and my husband was happy she was home. Because going through that, I had to stay up St. Mary's with her. So that was a lot on me too. Sometimes I had to be up there a week or 2 weeks with her. And every time I was up there, I was depressed. I was depressed in that hospital. It just, I hated it up there. But, you know, as a mom, we have to do what we have to do for our kids. We have to. And I stayed there with her at night. I remember one night they had a bad storm. And they say only one parent can stay there. 2 parents can't stay. So me and my husband was there. And would you believe it? In the storm, the night, the lady tell him to leave. And he was like, outside is raining. And I don't want to go in the rain. She said, no, you have to leave. Yeah, she told him to leave. Then I had to stay there with the baby. And I was up there all the time with her. I used to stay all the time up there with her. Because you don't want to leave your child up there with those aides. Not that they ever did anything to her or anything, but you have to be there and present with your child. You have to be there and present with your child. And I'm also thankful that during that time, I wasn't working. So for the first 3 years of my daughter's life, I stayed home with her. I didn't work for the first 3 years. I did not work. And I'm so grateful to my husband that he provided for us and made sure that we were okay and allowed me to stay with her so I could be at the hospital anywhere that was needed to be or place that we were to have to go with her. I was there. I was there with her. And he was there also. I would like to say a big thank you to Cohen's Children's Hospital for everything that they did to help my daughter and to let her be who she is today, because they did a lot. They did, and I want to say a big thank you to Dr. David Meyer, her surgeon. He did all her surgeries. So when you have hypoplastic left side, as I said before, you had 3 surgeries. So she had one 5 days old, she had one 6 months old, and she had the other one at 3 or 2 years old. I don't remember, but one of those years old she had it. And I see a big improvement within her, because before, my daughter used to walk 2 steps and she's like, Mommy, I'm tired. I can't go anymore. Her endurance was horrible. But since she had her 3rd and final surgery, she play. Oh, she's never tired. She play, 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 play. But I always say to her, if you're tired, stop. If you're tired, don't push it. If you're tired, make sure you sit down. If you're tired, so I tell her about her situation, and I tell her, we told her about her diagnosis to let her know that, you know, she has a heart defect and she has to be careful. So we tell her about that. And my husband, she was his first child, only child. I had 2 kids before, so he took it very hard too. I want to say a big thank you to my husband for all that he did during that time. He was my biggest support system during that time. Every doctor's appointment, he was there. Every ultrasound appointment, everything to do with her, he was there every step of the way. He was there to offer me support. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I had him by my side during this ordeal as a support system for me, for us. I remember when I was pregnant, he used to sing to me and sing to our daughter when she was in my stomach. He used to do that. He has a song he always used to sing to her. So I just want to big him up and let him know I'm forever thankful and I'm forever grateful, and I appreciate him and I appreciate all that he does and all that he did to help me cope during that time when I couldn't face something in the hospital, or at any time he was there. He said, okay, you stay, I'll go. So I just want him to know that he was my rock during that time. And I just want to say too, a big thank you to his mom too. During that time, she was there for us. My mom too, always praying for us. My family in Maryland was always there praying for us. My mom's friend Claudette was always praying for us too. And everybody who prayed for her, and anybody who visited her, and anybody was there as a mean of support to us, I'm thankful and I'm grateful. I just want to say thank you for being there, and thank you for being a friend to us and helping us through this ordeal, because it was a lot, and without you being there, we don't know what would have happened to us. So we're very grateful and thankful for you. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on your post notification that when I drop a video, you'll know. Bye.